The Massachusetts State Police is under fire by the state attorney general. A young boy is rescued after 12 hours of being lost underground in Los Angeles. And Monty Tech hosts the annual Disabilities Fair. All this and lots more coming up next on Our City News.
And now, the latest news, sports, and weather with Stephanie Allison and the entire Our City News team.
I'm Stephanie Allison, and this is Our City News. Here are the top stories. The Massachusetts State Police is seeing major changes, according to a press conference held this week. Public trust has fallen in the recent months after several investigations into the agency by the Massachusetts Attorney General. The elimination of Troop E, body cameras, and activating GPS technology on the laptops of all state cruisers are some of the initial proposals. With the series of scandals in the ranks of the Massachusetts State Police, Governor Charlie Baker and Colonel Kerry Gilpin laid out a set of reforms that they say will turn the tarnished agency around. The law enforcement agency has been dealing with controversies that range from the scrubbing of an arrest report to overtime abuse discovered within Troop E. Troop E patrols the Mass Turnpike. Governor Baker, who has come under fire from Attorney General Maura Healey over the state police scandal, says he supports Gilpin's efforts to reform the agency, acknowledged additional work remains in rebuilding the public's trust. In national news, a 13-year-old boy was miraculously rescued Monday after falling into a river of sewage in Los Angeles, getting swept away and spending more than 12 hours in the city's toxic and maze-like underground sewer system. Jesse Hernandez had been playing with other children on wooden planks over the sewer system during a family outing Sunday at the Los Angeles Park when a plank broke. Jesse fell about 25 feet and landed in fast-moving sewage, said Brian Humphrey, a spokesperson for the Los Angeles Fire Department. The other children immediately notified adults who called 911, initiating a frantic and exhausting 12-hour search of the labyrinth of underground pipes, using cameras propped on floating devices. The boy spent at least 12 hours in the sewage system before he was found. Numerous agencies joined the fire department, including the Sanitation Engineering Bureau. Cameras normally used for pipe inspections can both float and crawl, were sent into the pipes to find the missing teen. Montechusett Technical High School hosted the annual Disabilities Fair last week. Community organizations gathered to provide information about the services available to those who are disabled and give resources to caregivers. Glenn Fossa and Amy Green have the story.
At Montechusett Vocational Technical School, the Disability Awareness event is underway. Soon we're going to hear from the mayor, and with me, Councilor Amy Green. Councilor, good to see you today. Great event.
Yes, a nice turnout. The venue, I think, is a little easier for people to get to. We literally outgrew the senior center, so this makes for a nice event. 50-plus vendors, I would say, and hundreds of people taking advantage of the resources that are available, not only in Fitchburg, but for Central Mass. So that's the group that we want to capture. I don't think people with disabilities are necessarily at a fault. I think that Fitchburg embraces that. They're a part of our community. We want to hear from them. We want to take care of them, just like we do any other resident. So I don't want their disability to be a disability.
We've seen a number of events, economic development, real estate at the senior center, of course, and this is inclusive to make sure that all populations in the city and greater Fitchburg area are represented.
Right. And again, you'll see a lot of the vendors here have multi-ethnic, multi-language brochures available. I took a survey for Haywood Hospital, available in English, Spanish, Portuguese, and Arabic. So, these vendors know how important it is to reach every citizen. So I think that speaks volumes to the vendors that are here and recognize this event.
More to come from Monty Tech.
We've been doing this for 3 years, and every year it seems to grow, and that's the idea. And it's so very, very important that we send the message to the people in the city of Fitchburg and the local community that people with disabilities are part of our community, will always be, and we love them all, and we want them to be the best contributing individuals to our community that they can be. Let's have a round of applause for them.
Oakmont High School students are proving that therapy pets are a great way to help those who are in need of a little company from our furry friends. Glenn Fossa spoke to Amanda Porter about how this homespun group is gaining traction by making a difference.
Here at the Disabilities Awareness event, the community resource event, with me, Amanda Porter, Pause for Psych. Just an incredible name, Amanda. Tell us a little bit about what this is.
Yeah, so we are an organization that's based out of Oakmont Regional High School. We're funded by United Way Youth Venture, and we're all about just providing funding and a little bit of donations to people who have mental illness and may not have the resources or funding to buy therapy animals for their mental illness.
This is very, very important. So many different components of disabilities, and this very much so in the limelight. Therapy dogs, therapy cats, featured here.
So we kind of focus on therapy dogs just because it's a more specialized area, and we can get a more precise kind of estimate for pricing and how much we need to donate per person that needs one. But we do support therapy cats too. Okay, so on May 12th from 10 to 12 a.m., we are having an event called Pace for Paws at Oakmont Regional High School, which is going to be an event where you can bring your dog and you can run or walk with it on the cross-country trail. It's a very short distance, and it's really just a great cause, and all the proceeds will go to us and funding therapy animals for people with mental illnesses.
Pause for Psych at Montechusett Vocational Technical School. I'm Glenn Fossa.
The Montechusett Opportunity Council is one of the area's best helping hands and continues to provide a wide array of services to the community. We talked to Irene Hernandez about what they're working on for this year.
Fitchburg Community Connections is a branch off of DCF, and it's under MOC. And what we do is we find gaps in resources in Fitchburg, and then we find people or investors to come in and provide those resources for our community. All of this is to prevent abuse and neglect and to bring about a healthier community. So we work on everything from health equity to housing and transportation. And we work with really embracing families and really giving them hope again so we can heal our families. And one of the things that came out of that was Active Life Adult Day Health Center. And so we realized that there was a need for Latino elders in the community. And because of neglect and abuse, they most oftentimes are left at home because they don't want to institutionalize their parents. So we found some investors to come down to Fitchburg and open up an Adult Day Health Center that is primarily focused on the multiculturalism and bringing back dignity to those folks who are non-native Spanish speakers. They're also going to just embrace all of community, but the purpose is to fill those gaps in services so that our communities are not suffering and so that we can go to work in peace knowing that our families are in a safe place.
So many great organizations, of course, supporting this important part of our community. The Coalition, very interesting, probably one of the best around.
The Coalition is so amazing because we have the opportunity to lobby for systems change at the local and at the state level. So being in the Fitchburg Community Connections Coalition, we get to go to the State House and say, hey, we want to change the laws that affect our community, which is the poor and the people of color, for the state mandatory minimums. We want to add a sugar tax to sodas because we know there's many food deserts or people can't afford it, so that money can go into safe drinking water. So we're at every level. We're working with domestic violence. We're working on the opioid addiction and facing addiction. I'm part of that as well. Just to bring the voice of the voiceless to the table, to advocate for them. And you know me, and I love everyone. And if you have a need, you go to Fitchburg Community Connections and we'll find a resource for that need, because no one, especially in this country, should ever go without.
With Irene Hernandez right here. More to come on Our City News.
The Fitchburg Art Museum continues to showcase some of the area's finest artists. Cledia Spiro has the latest.
This week in our city news, we highlight Denora Justice from our exhibition Fantastical Political that's running through January 3rd. As you can see behind me, Denora works with a marbling technique to get these beautiful patterns in her painting. This is part of her Odalisque series, and she really wanted to have an understanding of how in art history, but also in history in general, the female nude and also how they lay in certain paintings has been exoticized and has been grouped together with nature. Here we are with another one of Denora Justice's odalisque pieces. This is really amazing because Denora is also a Brazilian artist based in Boston, and she uses nature again and the female nude to understand how sayings like Mother Nature is meant to be understood even in contemporary society. For instance, it has the connotation of being controlled and conquered, and she wants us to have a different understanding of what being female in contemporary society can mean. So here we're with another one of Denora Justice's paintings. This is called Madonna of the Woods. And as you can see, she uses a marbling technique to be able to do all of her paintings, which is really fascinating. Essentially, what it means is putting pigment in a stable bath of water and playing around with the patterns. And then you put the canvas in there, and it attracts the pigment as it is. And there's a film that gets created on top, and it stays on the canvas, which is pretty amazing and beautiful in the way that Denora does all of her pieces. You can see all of Denora's paintings and all of the other artists in Fantastical Political now through June 3rd, 2018. We'd be really happy to see you here. We're open Wednesday to Friday, 12 to 4, and Saturday to Sunday, 11 to 5. Here at the Fitchburg Art Museum, this is Cledia Spiro.
You can learn more about upcoming events at fitchburgartmuseum.org. And we'll be right back with more right after this.
Hi, I'm Dirk Burrows, and if you love tinkering around in the garage as much as we do, then join Glenn, Arissa, and me while we tour some great car collections all over New England. Tune in this fall for new episodes of Classic Drive Television right here on FATV.
You're watching Our City News on FATV.
For over 30 years, our Father's House has been providing shelter, daily meals, and support to help those in need around the greater Fitchburg area. Every day, our Father's House works hard to provide permanent solutions to homelessness by providing warm emergency shelter at all of our community locations. Our staff is caring, compassionate, and always there to lend a helping hand during times of need. If you'd like to support our Father's House, then what better way than a fun night of music and friendship? Join us on Saturday, April 14th for a wonderful show full of classic Beatles music by the band 1964 The Tribute at Fitchburg State University's Weston Auditorium, 353 North Street, right here in Fitchburg. For ticket information, call 978-345-2256, extension 300. The show starts at 8 p.m. Bring the whole family for a great night out. Get your tickets now for this fun event and help us help others.
This week on FATV. Wednesday at 7 p.m. inside Fitchburg with guests from the Salvation Army. Saturday at 9 p.m. Music Central. Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Stratton Players. And next week on our government channel, Tuesday at 6 p.m. the Finance Committee meeting live. Let's go over to Matt Carroll with the FATV Sports Report.
I'm Matt Carroll. Today is April 2nd, and this is the FATV Sports Report. We start locally. A few teams have been in action in Central Mass. No local yet. There is some fresh snowfall, so we'll see how long that keeps. baseball, softball, lacrosse, and possibly volleyball from playing right now. We will have updates as we move closer to getting in good field condition and when those games may be locally. We now move on to FSU. We got some highlights in the men's baseball team. Here early on, they played Mass Maritime for their first conference game of the season, and here we go. We got a single right here. It's a 2 RBI single, 2 runs scoring here early for the Falcons in game one. They are able to take the lead, but they end up dropping this one 5-2. Here we got the highlight again. Bouncing off the turf, because they played on turf, it allowed the 2 runs to score, and Fitchburg again losing this one 5-2 and would eventually lose the second game 8-5 against Mass Maritime. They start their season off 0-2. Their next game will be against Riviere, 3:30 at home tomorrow. We now move on to softball. The softball team playing Mount Ida College earlier in the week. We got some highlights there. Here's one early on. Rip right up the middle. Fitchburg able to take the lead early. That would be LeBlanc hitting the double to knock in Lambert. And that is Sylvester also coming in for the Falcons. Here we go again, the highlight. There's a rip right up the middle, and Fitchburg getting the lead early in the bottom of the first inning. And this would remain close throughout the rest of the game. As Fitchburg coming down towards the end, a great throw out here by Sylvester going down the third, getting the run with no outs. This was huge. That is the leading run for Mount Ida, and they're able to knock the runner out, get out of the inning, and move on to this next highlight here, which is the game winner. Here we go, steps up to the plate for the Falcons, and there is a blast out to deep left center, and that knocks in the winning run for the Falcons. The Falcons winning that one on the bat of LeBlanc. Again, we have the highlight here. Fitchburg winning this one again 3-2 in 9 innings, and it's a good start for them. A team that had been struggling since their trip down south, but Fitchburg able to win this one, able to tag up and score the winning run. They win the second game against Mount Ida 5-0. Fitchburg here we go again. You got Lambert hitting it to deep right center, knocking in 2 runs for the Falcons. They win this one in 5 innings. They mercied Mass Maritime Academy 14-0 for their first conference win of the season. It was all Fitchburg in the second game as well. We move to the second highlight here. Fitchburg, this is Keenan. Keenan goes to deep right field down the line, knocking in 2 runs, much needed runs for the Falcons, some insurance run. It is now 7-3 Falcons. They would win this one 7-3. They start their season off 2-0 in conference play. So it's very good for the Falcons, because what it really comes down to at the end of the year is what your record is in the conference and seeding in playoffs and eventually the championship game. We now move on to lacrosse. Women's lacrosse losing their first 2 games of the season over the weekend. We have the first highlight here. Special congratulations to Carrie Long, though. She's able to tie the game here in the first period against Regis. Again, we got Carrie Long, second-year captain for the Falcons. She was a captain as a junior and now playing her senior year, final year. It's a great accomplishment for her, getting her 100th career point and goal for the Falcons. Again, the replay there on the penalty, and Fitchburg is able to tie this one early on. We move later on, Alves on the penalty. She's able to hit this past 2 defenders here, giving the Falcons the 5-4 lead. Fitchburg would eventually lose this one 13-11 in a high-scoring game. They eventually went on to also lose to Westfield 13-3 over the weekend. Their next game will be the 4th on Wednesday at 7 p.m. We now move on to the NCAA tournament women's basketball. Notre Dame beating the beast of the women's basketball, UConn, on Friday night on a last-second shot. And then they were able to do it again last night on Easter Sunday after Mississippi took a 15-point lead. Notre Dame was able to come roaring back and hit the last-second shot at the buzzer and win their second national title in the last 18 years, first one since 2001. And the crazy thing is Notre Dame had been to 6 titles in that span of time, but because of UConn, the beast of women's basketball, they were not able to win the national championship game. They're finally able to beat UConn and then go on, play Mississippi State, and win in dramatic fashion. We now move on to men's hockey, the Frozen Four. Notre Dame will be taking on Michigan at 9:30 April 5th, which is Thursday, and then they will also be Ohio State will also be taking on Minnesota Duluth, and that game will be at 6 again on April 5th. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. Being a Notre Dame fan myself, it should be a good game, and it should be a good national championship following that. We now move on to men's basketball, the Final Four. Loyola, the Cinderella story ends there. 69-57, they lose to Michigan, and Nova winning against Kansas easily, 95-79. Nova looking really good. It was a high-scoring game against Kansas. And it's going to come down to, I think, a lot of defense in this national championship game tonight, which is at 9:20 on TBS. So be sure to catch that one. I think it's going to be a good one. My final prediction would be 69-64. I think it's going to be a defensive game, but Villanova wins it in the end, giving them their second national championship in the last 3 years. We now move on to pro sports. Pro sports, Celtics take on the Raptors and win 110-99, giving that 6 wins in a row for the Celtics without Kyrie, without Marcus Smart. We'll see how far that gets them going into the playoffs. They will be taking on the Bucks at 8 o'clock tomorrow night. We now move on to the NHL. Philadelphia beating the Bruins 4-3. The Bruins look to bounce back against Tampa Bay away at 7:30 tonight. The season ends Sunday. If the season ended today, the Bruins would have the lead in the division and the number 1 seed going into the playoffs. So we'll see how they can finish with just 4 games remaining on the schedule. We now move on to the MLB baseball. The Red Sox start this season off 3-1, but some concerns with the bullpen as that first game of the season, they had the 4-0 lead going into the 8th. They give up 6 runs, and they end up losing that one 6-4. Joe Kelly giving up a lot of those runs and really struggling throughout that game. Almost struggled again. They only won on Sunday 3-2. He was struggling. He ended up getting runners on the corners, but they were still able to pull off the victory, allowing the Red Sox to start their season off 3-1. Their next game will be down in South Beach against Miami at 7:10 tonight. It's a 2-game series, and then they return home on April 5th for the home opener against Tampa Bay. Again, this is Matt Carroll, and that's the FATV Sports Report.
Thanks for watching Our City News. I'm Stephanie Allison. This episode is brought to you by KCMC Management, our local Dunkin' Donuts. If you have a story you'd like us to share, email us at ourcitynewsfitchburg@gmail.com or check out our Facebook page, Our City News on FATV. For all of us here at FATV and Our City News, enjoy the rest of your day, Fitchburg.